Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at the MarketSite studio in Times Square, New York City, we have Dr. Merav Ozair. She's a global blockchain and cryptocurrency expert to discuss how we can attain safe, secure, and trustworthy AI. Merav, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And before we get into the technical side of things, of course, the lack of U.S. regulation as it relates to AI is problematic in the space. Why do you think we're lagging behind?
I guess, the U.S. is always lagging in regulations, even in privacy. I mean, the EU has the privacy regulations, I don't know, for 5 years, 6 years already, and we don't have any of that. I mean, the legislation here in the U.S. is always lagging. I don't know, I don't want to get into politics.
Right.
They're always like in election mode. So I guess that's part of it. And I don't know, I'm not a politician. I don't like to get into politics, but I think that's part of it. I mean, that there always like talks about doing things and it's never moving. So.
Right. Well, I mean, you and I have spoken about this off camera, but it's also the uniqueness of the First Amendment and how the U.S. views privacy and views free speech and views content moderation and so forth. So I think that's part of what makes it challenging.
Right.
Moving beyond the legislative part of it, how can blockchain technology assist in the implementation and manifestation of responsible AI?
Okay, so we know that regulation is coming. I mean, even if the legislators in the U.S. are a little bit slow, but it's coming. I mean, we hear, in September there was so much action going on Capitol Hill. There was a private session, there was a committee that was a subcommittee that was, we had the Biden administration that got the signature of commitments from the big tech companies. So there was a lot going on, and we did hear from some legislators saying, regulation is coming, it's all a matter of when and how. And the EU already has a regulation in place, and which called the EU AI Act, and probably it's going to be enacted. I mean, they're waiting, to get, more of like cohesive understanding, from the countries that are involved, and probably it's going to be enacted sometimes in 2024. We'll see. So, and everyone is talking about safe, secure, and trustworthy AI. But the question is, okay, great. We all want to, we believe in that, we want that, but the question is how. And the how is where I think that blockchain technology, Web3, can come and help. Because if you think about it, blockchain technology is everything that AI is not, meaning it's transparent, is traceable, it's tamper-free, it's immutable. So it's everything that AI is not, because AI, we're talking about, it's a black box. I mean, it's not transparent. We don't know what's going in and coming out. It's like a scary. And with Web3, it's just the opposite of that. So the weaknesses that AI has, this is where the strength of Web3. So if you record everything, and stamp on the blockchain, so it's great for data and model governance, because it gives you visibility for everything that, for like the whole journey, end to end, of the model creation and the data that comes in. So you know exactly when the data was recorded, whether it encounters any biases, and you can address them right away. How the model was created, who recorded each and every step of it. So because when you're writing a model, an AI model, it's especially if it goes to production, then it's as I said, data scientists, it's a living, breathing model. It's always being corrected and adjusted, and you have to understand how the data is fed in. So it's very much data driven. So you need to really understand what's going on, and since it is immutable, no one can come and say, oh, this never happened, or I didn't do that, because it also gives you a sense of accountability, because you have a timestamp of exactly, if someone wrote the code, exactly who made these decisions, who wrote that, who made the adjustments, who made the corrections, who, if there are errors, who made the errors. Okay, I mean, we're not trying to blame anybody, but but at least you have some accountability. So it's not like, oh, it's not me, it's this and that, and especially when talking about large organizations, when they have a lot of people working on a project, then it's very hard, to track, who wrote what.
So I feel like for the audience and even for myself, this can be very abstract.
Right.
So give us a real world case of blockchain governance to ensure responsible AI.
Okay, so FICO, everyone knows FICO, right? It's a very well-known name and company that has been around for many, many, many years. They just got approved a patent in February. And but this, patents, it takes years until they're approved. So this is basically, and it is called blockchain for data and model governance. And it's basically a process that they have been using for years. It just, got approved now, and it gives you, exactly, what I was just saying, the end-to-end, the entire journey of the creation of the model. From the creation of the model to the training to the launch of the model, and not to mention mistakes, corrections, amendments, and et cetera, of everything. You can exactly detect when a data whether the variable entered the model, and whether it has any inherent biases.
So with FICO, this model is being used for their credit scoring system?
Yes, it is used for the models. I don't know if it's exactly for this, which models exactly, but I'm sure that they are using it cross-board for all the models, and one of them is basically the scoring. So
okay, and it takes out any bias that might.
Yeah, so it's basically, it gives you the entire audit trail. Okay. So if there is a bias, then it detects that ahead of time, and you can exactly understand when it happened, take care of it, and make sure that it will not have any effect on the model.
So with blockchain, it sounds as if you're able to authenticate sources, you're able to protect data.
Right.
When we talk about Web3, a lot of us think of content creators. They're being protected,
right.
Perhaps their work can even be monetized, and this is all because of blockchain technology.
Right, exactly. So everyone is talking about, even people are telling me, when I have to write something, said, just let the ChatGPT or Bard, do the work for you. I said, okay, yeah, so not everyone still, I have to have my own ideas. But if you think about it, let's say, I'm asking, Bard or any chat, any bot, to create something. Where does this gets the information from actual creations, whether you created something or anybody else, whether it's a manuscript or video, your show, for example. So it takes all this information. From that, it comes up, with something. So if in the real world, and forget, this digital world, if I'm using your show, your information, you'll say, hey, but that's copyright, right? You can't use without asking me. You can't use without getting a license. You can't use it without me getting some royalties from that. But, since it's kind of became like the Wild West, it's all in the digital world, it seems like, oh no, it's fair trade, So, but no, it's not, and this is why we see like Sarah Silverman and some other authors, are just suing OpenAI and Meta for that. Getty Images are also suing. So there's and for infringement, of copyrights, because if you're using my information, my creation, you should at least give me the credit for that.
Right.
So
at the minimum, cite
the
work.
At the minimum. But but now it's getting to court and everything like that. But if you use blockchain technology, if let's say everything is recorded in the blockchain technology, and this is in fact the EU Act is asking for transparency of copyrights, if you're using the information. So, okay, so the EU is asking, give me transparency for using the copyrights. How can I give you transparency? That's what everyone is saying. If it is recorded on the blockchain, going back, to what FICO is doing, it also can be applied to copyrights. if everything is recorded and timestamped and tamper-free and immutable, no one can delete it, and you can see everything that is recorded, then you can really see, if I'm using, Sarah Silverman, or just an example, creation, and for this bot. And this is used for some other creation that the bot is using, then I know exactly that it was used and how much was used from that. Whether it just was one sentence, or it was the entire manuscript, or just a chapter. Either way, whatever you're using, you have to make sure that that the creator is compensated for that.
All right, appreciate the insight as always, Merav. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.